Alright guys, Tactical Bit here today, and we're going to be talking about Call of Duty Gamepedia's pre-CWL Las Vegas power rankings. These should be coming out pretty much simultaneously with when this video is being made available to the public, so hopefully this video will act as a nice supplement to those power rankings and we can talk through the list today. It goes all the way down to 16, which usually they don't, so I'll try and speed through the first few and then we'll get up to the bigger deal. And at the end of the video, I want to go through some betting odds if you guys are in the region where you can. And, I just wanted to go through some things you might think are interesting because there's definitely some odds on there which I think are pretty heavily in favour of the better, I guess you could say. So, anyway, let's crack on with it. Like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, and of course, this will cause a lot of controversy. I honestly think this overall list is pretty good. The way we came up with it is all the guys at Gamepedia who were interested. We put together a top 16, averaged everything out, and this is what we got. So the biases shouldn't be here as strongly, at least, even though it's a relatively small sample size. And I think it's relatively good. I don't think it's not exactly what my one is, but I think based on online play, which obviously Black Ops 4 Online is the main thing this is based off, and then there also is some consideration for World War II, the end of the World War II season. You have to kind of give some sort of credence to the LAN play, what we saw at the end of last season, but of course, generally, this is all based on Black Ops 4 Online. I think the list is relatively good, but I'm sure there'll be some qualms in the comments section below, so feel free to debate. So starting with number 16, Tainted Minds. A little bit questionable. I think there's other teams could replace them here, but who really cares about who's 16th on the power rankings? Heretics could be in here. Team Sween could be in here. Anyone like that. 15th being Mind Freak, I think makes sense. You know, they're in the play-in tournament. They've clearly shown they're better than Tainted Minds. And we wanted to put the Australians in here. So number 14, Lightning Pandas. Mad Cat, Alex, Dave, Josh, Petey. That's the squad. These guys have been looking not the best online, I'm not going to lie, but in theory they should be a very solid squad. I've seen some good things out of them. Didn't want to put them too high here. Now they've got an organisation. They're going to be coming out to Vegas. They are in pool play, which is rather handy for them based on the pro points from last season. They're going to be up against FaZe and Envy in that pool. Going to be a tough run. I don't think they'll have Envy. As you can see, they're not on the top 7. Envy are higher than that. We will get to that in a little bit when the time comes to it. So definitely have the potential to be a decent squad, but of course with these Lightning Pandas, Mind Freak, Tainted Minds, those guys, it's really tough to give them a place when we haven't seen them compete on LAN or, even really online against the other guys above them here. We did get that opportunity with Reciprocity and Red Reserve this weekend in the CMG Pro Down, so hopefully that will serve as a nice indicator as we move further up the list. LP should be a very solid team. Of course, top 16 is the amount of teams that make Pro League this year, so I'm expecting them to get in. So at number 13, Evil Geniuses. Exotic, I'm going to pronounce it right this time. We have Goonjar, Royalty, Saints, and Felony on the team. It used to be Lacefield, but he's moved to the team one above from these guys. I really don't rate these guys as a squad. They haven't been doing particularly well online, but they did bring in Revan as their coach, which I talked about a few days ago now, and I really think that could make the difference for this squad. They should be solid. Good organisation behind them. I have said that I think Lacefield maybe has a higher peak than Exotic does, but then again, it should be a similar kind of squad. Goonjar as the main AR is certainly questionable, but I don't want to bash on him too much. It should be a reasonable team at best, and I think slotting them around here kind of makes sense based on what we've seen on online play. Then we have the Pittsburgh Knights. This is Parasite's team. Effectively, this is Ghost Gaming from last year, plus Theory, and Theory effectively just comes in for the pro points, but he's also a very solid player, and he won 2 events last year, let's not forget, including the initial event, so who knows, maybe he knows something we don't about the game, just like that Team Caliber squad did last year. And these guys did pretty well in the most recent Pro Down. You can see, oh, that's the wrong one. This is the one. They come 6th in the Pro Down here. So a very solid result from them. Evil Geniuses were top 12. This was just a couple of days ago. I covered all the outcomes of this tournament in a video yesterday if you are interested. So back to the rankings. I think this is about right for them, especially looking at the teams below them. I think they should be better than the guys below them. Ghost Gaming showed a lot of promise last year. And as I say, Theory at the start of the game should have a lot of potential, and these guys in recent times have shown some good things online. Then we have G2 Esports, another solid organisation behind these guys. Ricky, Chino, Vicento, Blast, and Decimate. That's the squad. At the time this team formed, I said it's a similar kind of team to Evil Geniuses. It's kind of made up of a load of leftovers. What I kind of like about the Knights team is that it seems like, you know, these guys have played together before. They've had some success in World War II. This kind of a mishmash of players. But then again, they should be better than Evil Geniuses. The team chemistry seems to be there. Very solid in Search and Destroy as well, it seems. And in this most recent Pro Down, they were playing it pretty much everyone really close. We just looked through the results here. Okay, they beat Reciprocity 4-3. Then they lose to 100 Thieves 4-3. Then when they go down to the losers bracket here, they end up playing, okay, EG 3-2, and then they lose to the Knights 3-1. So they're pretty much playing everyone super close, which I guess is a good sign for any team and shows they can be competitive even if they're not winning too much. Let's get on to the top 10. Team Reciprocity in here. I don't think you can realistically put these guys higher than this right now, especially above the two teams that are directly above them, as you can see. So they did place 4th in the Pro Down yesterday. A very solid result from them for sure. And, you know, Unilad at the end of last season were really good. Arguably a top 4, maybe top 6 team in the world. And at Champs, okay, they came top 12, wasn't so good. They bring in Dens, they bring in Tommy. These guys have a crazy team house. Reciprocity's content right now on their YouTube channel is popping. Some great stuff over there. Fantastic organisation behind these guys. And they did really well in the Pro Down. And they've been, you know, scrimming every day on these fantastic setups. So they should be a solid squad. But it's just difficult to make the justification that these guys should be higher than this. Say you just take their placements from last year into account, put them all together. You use that as like the World War II back in, and then you look at, there's not much you can take from online. It's difficult to put them above 10th, put it that way. Moving on to FaZe Clan. I think the Luminosity pick maybe could be a little bit higher. I think FaZe is pretty fair around 8th, 9th. For these top 9, I noted down their placements in all of the 2Ks and the Pro Down. So every team on here, apart from Red Reserve, is a bit further up, and Straight Rippin' as well. They've played in all of the 2Ks and Pro Downs against the other best teams. And FaZe came 16th, 16th, 12th, and 8th. Now, it's quite interesting because last year, let's not forget, with this basically exactly the same team minus methods, because of course 5v5 this year, they really struggled in the online early 2Ks, got a little bit better and better every week, and then when they came to Dallas, they shocked everyone and placed 4th at the event. And whenever I seem to underestimate FaZe Clan, they always turn it on its head and they prove me wrong. So we'll have to see how it goes this time, but we've got them 9th here, and looking at their results, you know, it doesn't average great. They came top 8th at the most recent Pro Down. Really haven't looked crazy good. Methods hasn't exactly been the superstar he was in World War II at the start of the game. Probably this game just doesn't fit his playstyle quite as well. So I think that's relatively fair. LG is an interesting one because, yes, you look at their placements, it's very similar to FaZe Clan. 16th, 16th, 4th and 12th. So, okay, they do get a higher placement in that 4th, but it's a little bit up and down. They haven't been that consistent online, even though they should be a really solid squad. I feel like, okay, there's not really too much justification to put them above 8th right now, but when we look back on this tournament and they've come like top 3, you're like, you know, damn, why the hell did we ever doubt Formal, John and Gunless on a team and with the supporting crew of Slacked and Classic? But then again, this has to be based mostly online and it's very difficult to deal with stuff like that, so we have to put them 8th for now. I think a top 8 placement would probably be what most people expect out of a team like Luminosity. Then we have Straight Rippin'. I'm thinking maybe it's possible that they could have been in like 10th and then shift the other 3 teams up, because okay, they've shown some great things online so far this season. They came 2nd in the first 2K, 8th in the next one. So this is the team, if you guys aren't quite aware, of Morks, Nagafen, Havoc, Spacely and Major Maniac. 3 of those players, excluding Havoc and Naga, placed top 8 at World War II Champs. Very solid squad there under Elevate. They did really, really well. And they come into this season also doing super well. They played in the 2Ks the last 2 weeks, which the other pro teams haven't been playing. They won one of them. They come 2nd in this week's one. Or no, they came top 4 in this week's one. So still, an impressive stuff out of them. They've been picked up by Straight Rippin' for this event, and they should be a really solid squad. I think 7th kind of makes sense, but you know, there's that little instinct in the back of my mind that maybe that's just this one team that's kind of like online warriors at the start of a game, and maybe they don't do quite as well as they theoretically should from their online performances. So I think maybe we've been fair here. We've put them 7th when it's kind of in the middle of the road between where they've been performing online and how they're kind of expected to perform. But from what I've seen from them, their team play seems really good, and Major Maniac's a beast, Morks is a great player, and Spacely's been turning up as of late after his 0.6 at Dallas in the first event last year. So if he has another performance like that at the first event this year, it's looking slow. But apart from that, Straight Ripping should be a good team. Let's move on to the top 6. You can probably see by the little yellow colour there that I didn't do a very good job of obscuring, but regardless, 6th place we have Splice. Now, 6th and 5th could definitely be altered around here. I think Splice is a pretty big dark horse for this event, actually. That's the squad of Jerd, Looney, Temp, Aqua, and Accuracy. An interesting squad. These guys have had pretty good results online and have been pretty damn consistent. And at the first event of the year, you'd expect a guy like Accuracy. Of course, he won the first 2 events in the World War II season at Dallas and at NOLA under Team Caliber. He was a crazy good player at those events. Aqua should hopefully be back to form this year. Fantastic search and destroy player. Definitely think they're a bit of a dark horse, and they have been performing well as well. They come 8th in the first 2K, 4th in the next one, 3rd in the first Pro Down, 12th this week in the Pro Down. Not quite as good a performance from them, but still overall should be a very solid squad. And I'm expecting big things from them, to be honest. I don't think it's very justified to put them above 6th. I could definitely see them taking series off teams that should be above them here. And they are in OpTic Gaming and G2's pool, so theoretically that should be a pretty comfortable 2nd place for them based on these rankings at least. Because OpTic are obviously going to be higher up than that. I wonder where they could possibly be. We'll talk about the pool play for the rest of the teams when we get a little bit further down the line. So, one further up, we have Team Envy, baby. Now, maybe there's a little bit of an Envy bias in the CoD Gamepedia camp because I really like these guys. But then again, you look back at World War II, what's the most recent event? 2 months ago, end of September, Team Envious, or at the time Evil Geniuses, won the Call of Duty World Championship. Yes, you can say it's a fluke, but at the end of the day, they outplayed everyone at the event, and Bevels as their coach was really innovative in Search and Destroy. It's still their coach now on Envy, and you had Hook, who has been an absolute superstar online. Every time I watch scrims, he has like 7k damage on the map, and these guys have been solid. They were looking really, really good in scrims right at the start of the year. As of late, haven't done so well online. The first 2Ks, they both came top 32. And then in the Pro Downs, they've come top 6, which is very respectable. And, you know, they could definitely have been switched with Splice here, but I think 5th, 6th is about right for this team. I kind of wanted to put them higher, but I think maybe the slight edge they have of that LAN practice, what they did in World War II together, proven on LAN as a team, and there's no way Hook is going to destroy any of that kind of chemistry. So I think Envy's a very solid squad. I expect them to do well. I did say in a video a couple of months ago, I expected them to place top 3 at the first event. Not sure I'm so convinced now, but I guess I'll stick by it. Number 4. Here we go, baby. Red Reserve. Okay, this is an interesting one. I think Red maybe have been blessed a little bit here, and maybe should be a little bit further down. I think maybe there's a little bit too much focus on the World War II season. This is the squad of Joe, Rated, Zero, Bans, and Scrapsy G. And, of course, arguably the best roster not to win an event in the World War II season. They had 2 second places, 1 third place. They bring in Bance, who was unbelievable at not only CWL Birmingham, but also in Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare as well to some extent. And we weren't really sure what to expect from these guys. I'm very impressed, though, at how they managed to come into the CMG tournament yesterday or the day before when you're watching this. Same with Reciprocity, and they managed to come 3rd in that tournament. And they had a pretty good run of things. Okay, they go Game 5 with the Pittsburgh team. They lose to OpTic Gaming, but they take a couple maps off them. So, you know, 3rd place is very respectable. I do think that just this one single online tournament playing against North America's best maybe isn't quite enough to give them as high a position as 4th. I think maybe 5th is a little bit more valid. But at the same time, it's about right. Considering the success in the World War II season, who would you really favour among Red Reserve and Team Envious right now and Splice? It's gotta be, you're tossing a coin at that point, right? So they have to go one way or another. I think this is pretty fair. Moving on to 3rd place, we have 100 Thieves. Of course, as of late, these guys have been doing really pretty well. They come 2nd in both of the most recent CMG Pro Downs. They're looking a lot better since the start of the season. They started off with a 4th place in the 2K, then they came 16th, and as of late, 2nd back-to-back. Can't seem to get past OpTic Gaming, but do seem to compete rather well with them, and they seem to have found their stride to some extent. You know, there's still some issues about chemistry here. The fact that they don't have like a JCap figure on their team or a Looney figure to control the guess the tempers and the egos on the squad with Slash and with Octane, with Kenny on the team, but the slaying power on this team should be absolutely immense, and they've done very well on LAN. They're definitely up there with the favourites to challenge OpTic right now, because you can guess which place OpTic's going to be in this list, but at the same time, which of these teams can theoretically challenge him? Obviously the number 2 spot team. Then we have 100T Red Reserve. Apart from that, who's really going to have their number unless Aches on Envy can make something happen? I don't really see any the other teams getting close because they haven't done so online. Number 2, we have E United. This is the new squad of Clayster, Arcetes, Pristini, JCap, and Abizi. Now, I believe Pristini and Clayster and Brian Saint, their coach, have signed a contract extension until 2020 with the organisation, so they're clearly liking their time here. The others haven't as of yet, but we'll have to see how roster changes go down throughout the season, or if they are necessary. Any team with JCap is going to be fantastic in my opinion. He really does get the best out of his players. The last time Clayster and JCap were teaming together, it was Advanced Warfare Champs and they took home the entire thing as far as I'm aware. They've probably looked to be OpTic's closest competitor online. They didn't play in this week's CMG tournament unfortunately because, as I was reliably informed in the comments below, they were moving out to wherever OpTic are based to effectively scrim against them pre-Las Vegas, which should be fantastic for their overall ability as well. And OpTic clearly think, E United are our closest competitors. Let's get them out here to scrim so we can maximise what we're going to do. So it seems relatively clear to me. It's OpTic 1, E United 2. I might as well scroll up. I don't know why I'm staying on E United. OpTic are number 1. We can talk about them in a second. And yeah, so E United, they came 4th, 2nd, and 6th in the 3 tournaments so far. As I say, they didn't play the most recent one, but from what I've seen online, they do seem to be OpTic's closest competitor. They play them in the best matchups, and Abizi's a fantastic talent. We'll have to see what happens at Vegas. OpTic, clear number 1. They've won every single tournament. They haven't lost a single series, and clearly the favourites going into CWL Vegas. I've heard some comments like other people say that online doesn't really matter that much. So if OpTic, don't succeed or don't win Vegas, then, maybe it doesn't actually matter so much. Doesn't mean they perform so badly. But clearly they're the favourites here. There is no questions asked about that. They've won every single online tournament. They haven't really shown any weakness at all. And only maybe from here and there. And they've been looking a little bit more vulnerable as of late in the most recent tournaments, especially when they just didn't drop a map in the entirety of the first 2K. But we'll have to see how things go at Vegas. Online and on LAN can be a very different beast. The game can play completely differently. So many bugs and glitches in the game right now that could potentially swing a decider series. But it's very tough to say you wouldn't bet on OpTic Gaming right now. So that's the power rankings. Let's have a quick look at the pools and then we'll go on to the odds situation. So if it's going to load for me, these are the pools for CWL Las Vegas. The playing teams have not yet been decided. They'll be decided tomorrow. 100 Thieves, E United. So 2 versus 3 in our list. And Reciprocity are going to all be in the pool. That's the pool of death for me. No questions asked. Luminosity, Red Reserve, EG. Based on our rankings, Red Reserve should come out of that pretty clear number 1, but I do think LG have potential. EG, no chance. FaZe, Envy, and Mad Cat's team, I think Envy will top it. FaZe will be a relatively close second, and then Mad Cat's team, or now Lightning Pandas, will struggle to compete, but potentially have a chance. Pool D should be clear-cut. OpTic 1, Splice 2, G2 Esports number 3. Shouldn't be too many problems with that. Let's have a look at some odds here. So this is on Bet365, no targeted advertising or anything. But yeah, there's a lot of betting websites that do these sort of odds. These ones are up on Bet365 already, but Betway, William Hill, maybe Sky Bet sometimes have odds like this. They also can have odds for the individual map count. So they'll give you some odds for 3-0, some odds for 3-1, 3-2, whatever way. Or they'll say like, if one team wins over 1.5 maps or over or under 1.5 maps won by a certain team in a series. Sometimes they give you great odds like that. This is just to win outright, and they have other odds for the matchups as well. So if you're not quite so familiar with how this works, whatever money you put in, you divide it by this number on the right, and then you times it by this, and that's what you get back plus your stake. So if I put £4 on OpTic, I would get £6 back if they win the entire tournament. Added to my stake is £10. If I put a tenner on 100 Thieves to win the tournament and they win, I get £50 back plus the original stake. So I leave the place with £60. So these are the odds. Just browse them at your leisure. I think Envy is looking pretty good at 14-1, and my pick of the bunch is Splice down here at 25-1. These may have changed this time tomorrow when this video is going live, but damn, 25-1 to Splice to win the tournament seems relatively good going for me, especially considering EG's at 20, and EG definitely don't have as much chance as Splice, let's put it that way. So there's another one about who, reaching the final. LP are like 12 to 1 to reach the final, OpTic are 2 to 5. So, some interesting results here. We can also have a look through some of the matchups on the first day. So these are the matchups for the play-in tournament. I guess we can browse over them a little bit. So LG are 9 to 4 to beat Red Reserve here. Some of these odds are relatively reasonable, like Splice at 11 to 8 to beat G2. Is really rather generous. I would definitely give Splice the edge over G2, so I just thought these odds are interesting, that's why I'm talking to you about them. There's not too much else that seems that appealing here as we scroll down. Splice 11 to 2 to beat OpTic. Seems very unlikely considering pool play. But anyway, that's basically all I wanted to talk about today. So, like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, feel free to leave all your comments and suggestions and all that stuff. How would you have done it in the comments section below, and I'll try and read through it as best I can. So I hope you enjoyed and you're looking forward to CWL Las Vegas as much as I am. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.